Let's spit seeds, dude. Let's talk about baseball real quick here. We're about 16, 17. Some teams have played one or two more or less. They started over in Seoul. Who surprises you so far? Have you glanced at the standings lately?
Yeah. Jackson Holliday, that the whole Orioles thing they got going on over there. That's a pretty interesting story. Kind of wild the fact that they didn't bring him up right away.
I agree 100%. And I'm glad you just said that because I was gonna go into teams and which teams surprise you, but I'm so glad you
Yeah.
started with that because that's exactly what I said. I was fortunate enough to meet Jackson on two occasions last year when he was in town with Norfolk and they were playing the Bisons. And then just a few weeks ago, a week before the season started, he came over once again. He actually recognized me. He got a Moneyball hat. And
Really?
he recognized Deacon and I. That's a really good story that I'll tell you off the air. But and I'm rooting for the kid wholeheartedly. He's such a cool kid, man, and he's so respectful. And he's 20 years old, and to
Great.
be that, there's so much pressure on him. So he handled it really well in AAA with Norfolk. He came up. He didn't play last night. I don't know if they sent him back down, but he played He played two or three games and he was 0 for. He had an RBI ground out, but he was 0 for, made one semi-error play in the field. It would have been a basket catch.
Yeah.
He didn't play last night, so I don't know if they're giving him a breather or if they sent him down. But Troy, you being a baseball guy, why 15 games in?
Because of money reasons. Now, if they're gonna pull him up, there's something in the rules where if you pull him up right on opening day, he now gets like a full season, which is one season less that the Orioles get on his rookie contract.
Okay, well that would make sense.
So if they pull him up a little bit later, he can now stay longer.
So, okay. And it's
It's
surprising that it's
entranced.
only 15 games because like I've seen that, you've seen like last year, you saw it with Evan Turner, you saw it with Adley came in a little bit later in his rookie season. Usually it's like, and correct me if I'm wrong, halfway point and the team is kind of pulling away. They don't really have much for contention, right?
Yeah.
And then you see them, hey, let's get these kids up and play them. And then they don't even count toward their rookie season then. I thought what's slightly unfair to Jackson is that 15, 20 games in, you're going to get enough at bats in a full season, and that this will be your rookie season. So all of your stats will count toward your rookie season. As where if you came in halfway, it wouldn't count, and you could play next year and be rookie
Yes.
year.
That's what it is. Yeah, I don't know the exact rule. I'm gonna look into it. But it's interesting that is able to happen. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah. The talent on that kid, man, is just second to none. He lives up to the hype. We watched him play that same game. He hit a little dribbler back to the pitcher. I didn't even know he had these wheels on him, but it was spring training and they maybe took him lightly, like, they're like, oh, it's an easy out. And he beat it out. He beat out this
Really?
dribbler to the pitcher. And I was like, wow, I didn't know he had that kind of speed because he's not known for it.
That's crazy.
But team wise, I think the Orioles, everybody's expectations are through the roof for them this year. Looking through the standings, who I guess this at this point is really like disappointing so far? Like who do you look at and you're just like you look through the columns and you're like, wow, I don't, like what who stands out?
Um,
I have two teams that stick out to me, and I want to know your opinion on.
Go ahead. Let me hear yours, and then we'll
Well, the
break down.
surprise is so everybody's shocked by the Pirates and their start, but if you remember, they did the same thing last year and the year I think before.
Absolutely.
The Pirates come out blazing saddles every year. They I don't know why. And, they always have the talent. They never have a superstar. O'Neal Cruz,
Yeah.
he was hurt last year, but they have Brian Reynolds, O'Neal Cruz, but they have a lot of very, very consistent ball players. So once
Yeah.
again, this year, they're like 10 and something, 10 and 4, 10 and 5. They were 8 and 0 or 8 and 1. And they did this last year, and then they ended up, 30 games under 500. So they
Yeah.
are not a surprise team for me, and we'll see where it goes. I root for Pittsburgh being so close, and we're at so many Pittsburgh games. I mean, I'm a tried and true Braves fan, never will change. Baltimore, I will say I've jumped on the bandwagon, and they are my American League team now. After kind of meeting Jackson, and I met Adley the year before, and they're there's no arrogance, it seems like, with them, man. They're all like young,
Yeah.
good kids. Like Adley's like a Christian who was super kind to my kids and my wife, and just you got to love them. It's not like they're running away from fans, right? Like even my Braves, there's a couple guys I won't mention who just won't even go near fans, and it's embarrassing because it's
Yeah, especially because that's who pays your way. You know what I mean?
dude, I'll say it till I'm dead. And we had these VIP passes. We go behind spring training. We go right behind the batters. There's maybe 50 people. You do pay for it, and we do it. You're roped off, so it's exclusive. There's very few people there, and for those guys to not, so 65% of them walk over, they say hello, they'll take a picture, they'll sign a little bit. My kids go crazy. And then there's the real big names that I won't mention, and they just won't even do. You could be calling their name. You could say it's my kid's birthday. You could say whatever it is. You could literally, dude,
Yeah,
and I hope this isn't the case, but you could be like, my kid's got cancer or something. And these guys won't even
they
glance
wouldn't
at,
even care. Yeah,
and that to me is disgusting. And who was just a super good dude was Freddie Freeman. And he's no longer a Brave, but I mean, I have a real good story of real quick of when he came back when he was with the Dodgers, his first game back in Atlanta. A friend of mine went to the game, was in the Delta Club down there, and Freddie was on the on deck circle and handed his gloves to a kid who was sitting there saying, "Oh my God, I'm so sad you left." The kid was like in tears. And he
yeah.
actually took his batting gloves off, handed them to him, and he said, "This is why this one's heavier. I got hit on the hand and broke my hand." And he sat and explained it to the kid, and that's just,
Wow,
yeah, yeah. What a cool dude, right?
that is pretty crazy. So
Um,
one of my teams I'm surprised with is the Astros and how bad they've started.
That was my disappointment. So we're on the
Very.
same page there. Why? What's going on there? They're pitching.
Uh, well, they dropped the first four to the Yanks, which was pretty because I'm a Yankees guy,
I
but
figured you might be.
I've met Alex Bregman on occasions, and I'm
Yeah.
I'm an Astros guy too. I really like them. I know that they went through some stuff there, but if you really look into it, like a lot of teams were doing that.
Oh, yeah, I know.
You can't say that that was the only team doing what they were
They weren't
doing.
the only team. And listen, you still have to hit the ball. I get it, bro, right? I mean, if you know what's coming, you're still a professional athlete who has to swing and hit the ball. Is it an advantage? Of course it is. Is it as big of a deal? Like, dude, there's all these guys. You're in the baseball world that are doing all kinds of things, right? There's still greenies out there. There's still this. There's still that, man. There's always an
Yeah.
advantage. They test for steroids, right? They don't test for horse tranquilizers or whatever it is.
Yeah.
There's dudes doing stuff, right? If we're gonna get into cheating, you shouldn't take anything away from the Astros, in my opinion. I don't like the Astros, but it's not necessarily because of that. And
Yeah.
they were my disappointment team. What's
Yeah.
odd, man,
And
is
the AL West, yeah, it's
yeah,
just not.
and I don't think I don't think that's sustainable. I think they'll get it together. They have too much talent. But the dude went out, this same team we're talking about, the dude goes out, throws a no-hitter, right, for them.
Yep.
And then he came out the next game and he threw 4 more innings of no-hit ball. He left that game with 1 hit. The guy's allowed 1 hit in 2 games. And this is not one of their aces. So they still have Valdez and these other
Yeah.
guys. Right? So I don't know. Like, I know you're happy because the Yanks are surprising me with where they are. I didn't think the Yanks were going to be as good as they're starting.
Yes. Well, they have a different culture, it seems, with Soto and who's the other outfielder? What's his name? With the
Verdugo?
tattoos, Verdugo. Those are guys that don't really. Yeah, I don't know. When I think of Yankees, I think of like Jeter and like guys who don't have much
Flair?
personality,
Yeah,
flair,
yeah. No, I know what you're saying. Yeah,
just
yeah,
straight edge guys. But
yep,
now I like it. There's
yeah.
guys that are in there like it's just a different culture and it's going in a good direction. I mean, and they're in first place in their division. So
I
hey,
agree. I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, you can't say much negative about Jeter or all the titles they've won, but I think there was a point. I'm not a Yankees fan, but there was a point where they got boring. They were so good. Ask me if this makes sense. They were so good that they got boring, and
yeah,
they were like the straight edge Yankees, the shaved face, boring,
there.
right? Yeah, they got a little swag now with Soto, Verdugo. Judge is Judge. I love his personality and the way he is. Um, I don't know. I guess they do have talent through and through, right? There's just guys this year that are playing up to their capability that haven't in the past, like Gleyber Torres is playing really
Yeah,
well. Volpe is coming on, right? So,
Volpe.
And then my other surprise is the Royals. What do you think of the Royals? Give me your hot take on the Royals.
I think they have a world class shortstop who's still young enough to
Yeah,
be there for a long time.
yeah.
He's a great centerpiece to that, and it's really they put together a good program for many years. They've had some losing seasons since they won the World Series,
Yeah.
but I don't know if you remember that World Series. That was one of the most fun ones to watch.
I remember that like it was yesterday, and I was rooting for the Royals. So the Royals are the type of team, they're almost the AL Pirates
Yes,
because they draft well, they have a great front office, they always get this talent, and they can never keep the players. They
that's
end up
what it.
they end up with the Yankees.
Yeah, like who knows when Bobby Witt's going to go and where he's going to go.
I did they lock him in?
Believe they did.
I
So
mean, he, in my opinion, is top three in the league.
yeah,
He's so good. Five tool for sure, right? I think he leads the league in caught stealings as well. He runs a lot. He takes the chances, right? And
yeah.
you know, last thing, we'll make this short, and you got to fly. And I'm glad we got a chance to chop it up here a bit this morning. Why do you think they're not stealing more in baseball? Like the pitcher can only throw over once. It seems to me you need to have a real striker behind the plate to get these to gun these guys out, man. Like Acuna is, I mean, he's in the top echelon. He makes it look effortless. But I noticed they're not stealing a lot. I mean, you got a guy on second, a base hit scores them. It's just such an advantage to baseball. How do managers not see it, or are they just traditionalists, or why are they not stealing more bases in baseball?
So, in my opinion, there's a few reasons for that. One of them is bases are harder to come by these days. So if you get on first, I would like you to stay there and not get thrown out at second. These pitchers are like a 1-0 and under to the plate with their slide steps, and that is like premier. And these catchers obviously are the best they've ever been too. So it's never been harder to steal bases than it is now.
Really? You
And,
think so?
yes, 100%.
See, and I thought, and again, this is why we have these conversations, but they did move the bases in a bit. They made the bases bigger. No, they didn't
Yeah.
move, they made them bigger. Right? And the pitcher, my whole thing was, you're absolutely right. I agree with Kenton at an all-time premier. And pitchers are better athletes, I feel like now.
Yes.
You don't have like the Bartolo Colons out on the mound right now. You just don't have, pitchers right now are athletes. I almost feel like half these pitchers could play other positions and do just fine.
Yeah.
But I feel like the speed though is also at its all-time high. And the one throw over doesn't really keep the runner honest. You know what I'm saying? So like I think once they throw over once, the dude basically has a green light to go.
Yeah. I see where you're coming from. I do. As a player, it's just very hard to swipe bags. I mean, and I'm a pretty fast guy.
Yeah.
And you have to be like Acuna is otherworldly.
Yeah.
The twitchiness of him and the way he gets jumps and all that stuff, it's it's
Yeah.
it's world class.
Were you a big base stealer when you were playing?
Um, our team at Mercyhurst, we didn't really revolve our game around swiping bags.
Okay.
We just had guys that hit.
Yeah.
So I would assume that that's where the major leagues is going in terms of let's just hit them over. Let's
That's a
try
good
to hit
point
them.
too. Yeah, that's a
You
good
know what I
point.
mean? Guys get paid all this money to hit these balls. We're gonna play where the money's at.
You know what I'm thinking, and this is just so Acuna's one in the lineup. A lot of times you have some faster guys that are 7, 8, 9, right? That aren't
Yeah.
as good of hitters, but are really fast. You might have a second baseman or a short who's really not a premier hitter, but he's super fast, or an outfielder, whoever. And you know, I see your point now, but if you're 8 or 9 in the lineup, if you get on base and then Ronald can knock you home or Albies can knock you home, I can see that. But I'm almost putting my 8. Let me put it this way: my 8 batter, I'm almost always having him swipe or attempt to swipe. An 8
Absolutely.
batter is usually fast, right? Say you got one out, your 8 gets on base, they swipe, now they're on, right? 9 strikes out, one's going to base hit you over. So I see what you're saying. It's more strategy as a fan, because I didn't play at your level even close. And as a fan, you want to see stolen bases. To me,
Yes.
stolen bases are such an exciting part of the game. To me, stolen bases and home runs are my 2 favorite parts of the game.
Absolutely.
You know,
But from a
that's constant.
strategic standpoint, yeah, from a strategic standpoint, if a guy gets on first, nice, beautiful single to lead off the inning, then gets hosed at second, it's
Yeah.
a killer. It's a
Well,
killer.
and yeah, and but even I love watching the stolen base, and I even more so loving a catcher throw out a swipe.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, that's rad too, man. You got Jonah gets up or whips somebody out, man. Like that's really fun to watch. Or the guy thinks he's got the bag and he slides right over it.
Yeah, right. Especially on turf.
Yeah, yeah. So you
Yeah.
got to fly?
Yeah, I do, man. But it's been nice getting in touch, talking about some baseball.